Hello, YouTube, and welcome to another wonderful Smite video. It is I, your host, Cosmos, and today we are going to be talking about a topic that you guys just love saying, tier lists. So this is going to be an update on the tier list that I made 3 months ago, just about. So it has been a little bit since we've done an update, and there have been a whole slew of changes that have drastically shifted the meta around, you could say. So we're going to take, this will be a little shorter than like building up a tier list from scratch, because what we have here is the tier list from 3 months ago. And what we're going to do is we're going to go class by class in order of warriors, hunters, guardians, mages, and then assassins. And what we're going to do is we're going to, start with warriors, and we're going to say, all right, every warrior I think needs to be moved. We're going to drag down to this evaluation tier that I've made at the bottom here. And we're going to repurpose the ones that I think need to move. We might do some like slight explanations on things that are staying and why I'm thinking they're staying. But for the most part, this is just going to be focused on the things that need to move. So yeah, let's get right into it. Starting with my take on warriors. So, as you may know, warriors are my most played ranked Joust class. It's probably the one I have the most expertise in and will be the most accurate on this tier list. Definitely gonna, have some things that are going to be wrong that you might not agree with, and that's good. We have differing opinions. We're different people. Huge surprise. But this warriors one, you can be pretty certain this is gonna be right. So let's do some reevaluation here. We're going to start with Mulan definitely needs to do something with not being there anymore. I'm going to do something with, let's see. My boy Kakolin is going to do a little movement. Achilles, you are moving. This guy's going somewhere. You are moving. Am I cool with this? You're going. Who else? Am I happy with that? Here, I'm going to do this. All right, that's enough for S. Who needs to move here? Anyone? You're going somewhere for sure. I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, I think I am happy with that. Maybe do that. All right. Yep, this is definitely going somewhere. You and oh my gosh, Tier just got buffed. Literally today, as I'm making this tier list, Tier got a big buff. Uh, uh, uh. Grab you. And oh my gosh. I'm actually struggling right now. Do I want to move tier? We're moving tier. Yeah, we're doing it. Warriors, anyone else? Anyone else? Do we have all the warriors? Dang, warriors are OP. They're all A plus and above. All right, cool. Great class. All right, so we got a nice little list of warriors down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's just over half the warrior class. There are 20 warriors. So, yeah, a whole lot of movement going on with the warriors here. We'll do some brief explanation as to why we didn't move any of these. I think Amma, Osiris, and Shiva are just like insanely strong. Like Amma, just crazy strong team fight. Controls the objectives really well. Osiris, insane poke. Both Osiris and Amma can transition to auto attack, which makes them super strong. And Osiris is really good at like limiting people from doing things. Got like a lot of frost bounding, a lot of poke that we talked about. Really good. He just got buffed too, actually. So Osiris is definitely keeping his position. And then Shiva, just really strong pressure god. Blink Shiva, just incredibly annoying. Just really, really pisses off carries and is very, very safe while doing it. So, yep, all those gods super strong still. These guys in A plus are kind of like, they might share some of the strengths as the guys above them, but they're just like, just slightly weaker. So like Hercules, just really good at controlling the early, can really mess up a carry late. But he's just not doing it as well as Shiva or as easily or as consistently, in my opinion. Kind of the same thing as Surtur. Surtur, I do really like all of these characters. Like, there's not a single warrior in this game I do not like, so. Yeah, we do love the warriors. Horus, more of a support warrior, supportee warrior. But he can get a lot done. He's pretty strong right now. That lockdown is super good, especially post 9.5. Put people in really awkward positions, so he can do a lot. And then he, of course, can protect your team very well. And you can always do the Horus ult thing. Ult minions into their tower when they back awkwardly. Ult minions into your blue buff or your speed buff so they can't farm any waves. A lot of really creative things you can do with Horus. If you've been watching the videos, you would know this god is pretty strong. But I wouldn't say he's insanely strong like these other ones. He just doesn't offer as much to the game's outcome as I find these other guys do. Erlong is kind of he's a weird one. Got a lot of really great CC, insane setup. This god can feel very, very, very potent in the right comps that let him operate, but he's a little easier to lock down, chase out, but very, very strong god. I think I'm gonna put him at the top of A+, because he's like on the precipice of breaking up into this category. He's just does so much damage, and he's pretty safe. You buy beads on him, and between his 35% mitts and massive shield, you should be okay. King Arthur. King Arthur might actually need to move down, to be honest with you, but yeah, we're gonna drag him down to the reevaluation category. And then Vamana, yeah, I like Vamana, but he's kind of like a worse Ama, a worse Erlong. Like, you just have to have his ult to do the same things that these guys can do without their ults, so it's kind of, a little lame. Alright, so let's reevaluate these warriors. Mulan, who was up here in S, very, very dominant warrior. We're going to be moving her down significantly. Question is, do we want to put her in A+, or do we want to put her in A? I'm gonna give her like low A+ here, bottom of these warriors, because she just got nerfed like a lot of times. She was like the best warrior. It was just like so easy to kill off of Mulan grapple. But now like her numbers are a lot lower. So it's a lot easier to punish her or when she screws up that grapple. Or early game before she has the weapons upgraded and has like that second form, the extra prots on her 3, the double hit on her 2, the triple hit on her 1. She's very, very vulnerable. And with all the nerfs, like, the biggest thing about Mulan is she just get a grab and you just die. Because, like, E-Shell was really, really popular at the time when Mulan was really, really good, too. So, like, those two just worked really well together because you just Mulan 3 somebody and then the E-Shell drops, like, 4 abilities on them and they insta-die. So, you can still kind of do that. But the Mulan is a lot more vulnerable while it's going on. People have gotten a little bit smarter against it, Got a lot of counterplay options. So, Mulan, just is not doing it as crazy as she was before because of all those numbers nerfs. She's just not like beating you down to a pulp to the point where it's just like you can't deal with her. Kukulkan was S, but after playing him a lot more, and he's gotten a little bit of nerfing going on, he will be moving down into a similar range as Mulan. I think I'm gonna put him just above her. Still a very strong god. The early pressure that Kukulkan outputs is very, very insane. It's actually arguable that I should have left him in S, but he's a little less safe than... He's very similar to Shiva in terms of like the pressure he puts out is particularly on backline. Really, really good dive character, but he's not as consistent, I would say, as Shiva. You really don't want to go in unless you have your transformation, so there's that limiting factor. And then also... I don't know. I find Shiva a little bit more consistent. Kukulkan's probably a little stronger, just a little bit early game. But it's a lot easier to shred down a Kukulkan later on once you get that ADC on him versus like a Shiva who can like reposition himself a bit easier, has a lot more CC immunity. But, very, very similar characters. I just think Kukulkan is just slightly, very slightly worse. So, yeah. Gonna leave Kukulkan down in the A+. Still a very strong god, controls the early super well, but just, isn't as consistent as Shiva, and then like the auto attackers are just like a little stronger than him in terms of what they can bring to the team, like objective wise and fight wise, just across the board. They just can do a little bit more of the specifically like Alma and Erlong and some other guys we'll get into here. Achilles, this god actually got buffed last patch. I had him in S But after further evaluation, I think he's more of an A-pluser. I think he's around the same kind of thing as Cucullin. These ability guys, these Shivas, Cucullins, and Achilles. Achilles is still very strong, very good early game. That execute, of course, always something you got to worry about. But he's a little bit, kind of like the same thing as Cucullin, as you can control him a little bit, lock him down. I mean, he's got the double combat dodge kind of maneuver, but very limited CC. And if you have to ult out, that's just such a feels bad as Achilles. Like, if you're not getting good value from the ultimate, this character just feels like such a wet noodle character to me. Especially once you hit that like mid to late game stage. And if people know that they can pick Baron Somni into you, it can make life a lot harder. If they have the good lockdown for you, and Baron, it's kind of like my favorite counter pick into Achilles because you 3 him and ult him, and like what? He's got ult away. Kind of sucks as the Achilles player. But he's still a very strong god, a lot of damage, a lot of early output, and you can snowball the game pretty hard with him and get lots of executes. So he is pretty high on the list. But like I said, he's a little bit more controllable than some of his stronger counterparts, I find at least. Guan Yu, I think we had him in the S category. We had a lot of warriors in the S category that I think are no longer S category. They're just not as strong. I think Guan Yu actually is a little underrated right now. I'll put him in an A-pluser. Just above Mulan, perhaps. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for Guan. He can be very good, especially into those poke compositions. Guan Yu. Like your Kulus of the world, your Jormungandrs, your who else is a poker? Uller. When Uller was a little bit more popular, Guan Yu was pretty strong against him. Just because like you build Caduceus Club on this guy, and then all of a sudden your passive active, you maxed your heal, and boom, I will not let you fall. Plus 265 to all your teammates. So very, very good against those poke heavy comps. And then he has very low cooldowns attributed to his passive, giving him a 2-second refund when he heals, and 2-second refund when you dash through an enemy god on all your abilities. So can get his ultimate up quite quickly. And that 1.5-second cavalry charge stun can set up quite a lot for you. You just stun a tank late game, chin size him down with your Charybdis, your X-Ball, your, whoever. It can be very, very useful. Like, if the tank doesn't buy beads or the tank doesn't have their beads up, you just, like, insta-stun them, and then you're shredding them with your Guan 3. Guy can die very quickly, and you can play a very, very slow-paced game with the Guan Yu. You can just play off your healing. And since your whole team's together almost all the time in Joust, those heals become very impactful because you're not only healing yourself, you're healing, like, 3 people at the same time. So, healing, very, very strong when you can heal your whole team. Guan Yu, very good. Very good, but not as strong as these other guys. I think the difference between Guan and like all these guys and these guys above is these guys just do more things. Like, they sustain themselves really easily in the fight. They contribute a little bit more to the fight. They might live a little easier, and they play around the objectives a little easier. Like, a big factor for me is the objective pressure on securing buffs and killing the Bull Demon King. And that's why Alma here is kind of the top at the moment, because she just does all of those things so well. And her team fight's just so good. She's so safe. She's so fast. She just has everything. She really does. Except for that insane early game. That's the only thing she's kind of lacking. And then that's why Cyrus is there, because he does that part. Sun Wukong, I think this character is good. Kind of similar to Guan, kind of similar to Mulan. His cooldowns are pretty long. That's the thing that I've noticed when I'm playing Wukong. Is his passive, very useful. Has protections and power on his passive as he drops below 60% health. So really strong passive, especially early on in the game. But he's just not like as much of like a early game powerhouse as I want him to be in comparison to maybe like a Hercules. Not poking as often as your Osiris. His buff secure is alright. His fire pressure is not great. But he's a really, really safe diver. So if you need something to dive, something similarly as safe as him, like they pick a Scylla, or they pick a Marty, or they pick a, I don't know, Baron, for example. Like, safe backliners that are hard to kill, Wukong is very good against, because he can poke them out, and they're never killing him, And when they use their safety ability, he can use his safety ability. So very, very useful character. Kind of hard to go wrong with a Wukong in your draft. He's just consistent damage, safe god. Like, kind of hard to mess him up. But his cooldowns are a little long. So that's kind of like his only like main weakness, in my opinion. Moving on, we got Odin. He was S, I believe. I'll be moving him down to A+. We're really favoring these gods that can output like immense early pressure or can like play the map super objectively and kill the Bull Demon King. That's kind of what the S tier is right now. Shiva is kind of like a weird exception because he doesn't really kill the Bull Demon very fast, right? But like his pressure is just so constant in comparison to some of these lower guys. And he can just like put so much pressure on you consistently as a backliner that makes him really strong to me. A little leg up on the other like ability warriors. Odin, I'm gonna throw just above Surtur here. Really insane counter pick into things that can't deal with his cage, obviously. So if they pick, you know, Morgan Le Fay, who's banned from ranked right now, but if they were able to pick Morgan Le Fay, it would be very good. Chang'e, Vulcan, a lot of the mages can't get out of the cage very well. And then some of these hunters, like Medusa, struggles against the cage, right? Chiron struggles a lot against the cage. There are a lot of characters that break out of the cage very easily, so that's kind of why I moved Odin down a little bit, because, you know, Charybdis is very popular right now. You got your Jormungandrs of the world. And it can be a little tough unless they like really lean into being weak to your cage. Like they pick like Medusa, Amma, top two. Like I'm probably going Odin, and Odin's feeling like an S tier character in those matchups. And a lot of the meta characters deal pretty easily with your cage. It's like Jing Chen every game right now. So yeah, a little tougher to find as much value from the Odin. And he's not offering like super consistent pressure in relation to some of these higher up warriors, because you're kind of just like playing off your 3, right? And Odin's like big strength is the cage, and he's very safe, so you need to like stack cooldown. So I kind of run into the same kind of issue with Odin as I do with like Wukong, where the cooldowns sometimes, you know, I just don't have them up as often as I want them to be, and I can't like pressure fire where they're down because my god's just not like super good at that. So yeah, we're gonna leave him there for a bit. Shock! Shock was an A+, I believe. Battery was an A. I think Shock is actually the best, most consistent warrior right now. He's got very consistent safe poke. He can control space very well in the team fight. Build chin size, and he has pressure on any character in the game in terms of kill potential. He can go on your the ADC and slay him. Shock Rain, very hard to fight through as an ADC because it gives 40% slow, 25 or 20% attack speed slow, and that can double if he gets you in the big AoE rain and the small AoE rain. So he's gonna be beating your ADC, and he's getting 100 of each prot from his 2. He's got the redstone. He's got really good buff secure. You level his 2 first, and he's got the pass through damage plus the actual damage from his 2. Really insane burst on a buff, very similar to Amma. But the difference between him and Amma is he's got pressure earlier. He does have weakness, pros and cons versus Amma, but I think the pros are higher than the cons. These two are very close, kind of like neck and neck for me in terms of like which one's the strongest. But I do think Shock's a little easier to pull off and a little bit more consistent throughout the game. So just such a great character, bro. Like his reign lasts 6 seconds. You can zone an ADC by throwing a 1-3 at them and then kill his backline, or you can just blink to the ADC, 1-3 them, and kill them instead. You have so many options as Shock, and options are what you want. That's what you need. You don't want to be Cullen, I have to kill the backliner. I'd rather be Shock, I can kill the backliner, but I can also kill your frontliner while zoning your backliner. So yeah, Shock's just really good. All right, Gilgamesh. I think he's kind of like a good third to these two. Really insane early. Buff secure sucks. Kills the Bull Demon very well. Really good sustain because of the HP 5 on his 1. HP 5 is a very, very, very strong stat. Self-sustain, you may notice, is quite impactful in Joust. And warriors typically have a lot of that because, they're built for the solo lane, which is the lane that is the best to have all the sustain. Every freaking solo laner buys health chalice. Like, really translates well into the Joust game mode. And Gilgamesh with a really good team fight. The only thing about Gilgamesh versus, like, things that are strong about him is my Gilgamesh ult. Very good, right? Really good lockdown, really good team fight ability. Shock can do that with a non-ultimate ability. That's on a 16-second cooldown at base. I need to wait 90 seconds for mine. So, yeah. Shock, has Gilgamesh ult in his kit. Just doesn't do damage, but it does reduce attack speed and slow heavier. So, a little worse than the Shock. Have a, not as safe and easy poke as the Shock does. Kind of like a downgrade Shock, or maybe a side grade Shock, because I do have that nice long stun from my 2. Really good displacement. And the biggest thing I find about Gilgamesh is that level 3 fight, level 3 to 5, that early game, he is just so dominant. Because his 1, if you get the extra duration on that sucker, you get a wing shard, and you are just actually smelting people, bro. Because Gilgamesh 1 gives you, I've noticed, just about 50% extra damage per basic attack. I find my basic attack hitting for like 60, and then my 1 adding another like 27 to 30 at level 3 on anyone, really. So you jump in on the first wave. That jump gives your whole team such a big buff, and it helps clear, of course. And then you just hit your 1 out, pop a wing shard, and you just go, and they just are forced to not fight you, or else you're going to kill them. So, yeah, really, really strong character. But just not quite as consistent as these other 2. These 2 can play a little safer, a little bit more objectively than Gilgamesh can. He's always, like, looking for the fight. And sometimes they just don't give it to you. So, yeah, it can be a little tougher. But these guys, like, even outside of the fight are doing very well, objectively. Because they can secure the buff so well. Can go for the Bull Demons a little bit earlier and easier with the team. But Gilg, very, 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 very strong. Nike. This character got a scaling ult from 90 to 70 just last patch. Very, very strong character. Not quite as strong as these guys, but I will give her a solid Cullen. Yeah, I think she's up just about there. Solid A+ character. Variability based. Of course, gotta get the redstone. Big fan of Mystical on Nike. Gives her that little bit of extra damage that you won't have between your abilities. And that 70-second ult is actually very, very, very useful. Kind of just like dump your load on people and then just like chill. That's your whole Nike thing. Like you take half the carry's health and then you back off and you chill. And she's really good against a lot of these meta hunters. She's just good against hunters in general, right? But like on her, can't really do much about her. Medusa can't really do much about her. Charybdis can't do very much about her. Chiron, X-Ball, like all these very, very meta hunters are struggling against a Nike because she's just taking a 30 your health with her 1, and then, she's got her 2. Like, the best thing you can do against a Nike as one of those guys is hit her as much as possible while she's winning, right? Because while she's winning you can, you're not disarmed, and she's not blocking your autos. So, like, that's the best time to take advantage. But that won't really, like, trade out super well for you until, like, late game or hyper late game, so it kind of sucks to be a hunter without a lot of CC against a Nike. Like, I'd rather be a Ho Yi in the Nike matchup type of thing. So, it can be a little tricky. And that's what makes Nike so good. And then she can, pound away at your mages too. Got that good long range poke. And then, that ultimate just being on a 70-second base cooldown max rank is very, very, very useful. Just so many Nike ults, man. You get max CDR, 70-second ults become 42-second ults. So those can be very, very difficult to deal with when you're going against, Relic, Dagger, Blink, Fire Blink, Nike. Pushing you around and generating a half an HP shield bar every 42 seconds. So, yeah, pretty strong. Bologna. I think I had her an A+, and I will be moving her down to A. I'm curious if I should have moved Vamana up. There's definitely an argument to put both these guys in A+. And maybe even move Mulan down. Just because these guys can go auto attack. And auto attack pressure is very, very valuable. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't like this. I feel like I almost want to put every single warrior in A+ or above instead of having any in A. Because even Vamana, I was dreading playing this guy to Master's Border, and he was so much easier than I thought he was going to be. So much easier. But I don't know. Vamana's just like such a situational pick. Yeah. We're getting off track. We're talking about Bellona. So Bellona is kind of just like the worst auto attack warrior. That's kind of her thing. Like, she just has less than the other guys do. Kind of lame. Good ADC 1v1 matchup counter. Really good in a 1v1 boxing scenario against anyone, really. Like, you pick her into Arachne, the Arachne's probably not having very much fun, type of thing. You pick her into Charybdis, and you're able to actually fight the Charybdis. It's going to be tough, because, you know, the best way to beat an ADC is to not take the damage from their basic attacks. And Bellona has two different ways to not take the damage from the basic attacks, right? She's got the disarm, and she's got the block stacks. Not many characters that can say that. We got Nike, she's got the disarm, and she's got the shield, right? But she's not hitting you while she's doing the shield part. And you're hitting her back before she disarms you with her one, right? So Bellona a little better in terms of that. Versus the other auto attackers, like Erlong's just doing more damage, more CC. Gilg, more CC, more space control. Alma, better buff clear, better space control, more objective play. Kind of same with Shock, better poke as well. So she's just kind of like on the outskirts. So unless she gets those 1v1s that she's really looking for, can feel a lot weaker to be Bellona. I actually do find Bellona and Vamana to be relatively similar. Because they're just like, they're good auto attack warriors, but they're just worse than the other ones. Because Vamana, ult reliant, right? Decent poke, good buff secure, but he's just worse than the other guys. So for that reason, we got to put him down the A tier. I think we're just, well, we'll leave him here for now, but there's definitely like an argument to be made for like every single warrior in the game to be A+ or better, because they're really not that bad. So yeah, tier. I have him in A before. I think I'm gonna move him up to A+. I think some of this tier list actually conflicts my my warrior tier list. I think I had tier on the bottom, but tier is actually getting buffed, or got buffed today. 1.5 second stun instead of 1 second stun on his guard stance ultimate, and they took a second off the cooldown on change stance from 10 to 9. So he actually got quite a bit stronger. It's pretty big buff. But at the same time, tier isn't exactly the strongest Joust character. Kind of like a counter pick that you'd pick into like knock-up heavy or CC heavy compositions, like say your Fafnirs, your Onhers. You could pick him into like Gilg. You could pick him. I like tier into Kuzenbo a lot, because Kuzenbo needs to get really close to you, and you win your dash versus Kuzenbo dash. So, like, if you want to let Kuzenbo through, you can grab this guy. But he kind of does suck when you go against cripples. So, you know, if you're going to play tier, you can't let Ares through. You don't really want to play against Ascilla very much. Hera's kind of annoying because she's immune to your Fearless. So there are a lot of annoying matchups, but those guys that need to get close to you, like Kuzenbo, like Kabrakan, like a lot of the auto attackers actually, like Erlong, and like Bellona or Vamana, or even like Gilg or Alma, like tier can kind of like mess him up a little bit, push him into places they don't want to be, and they can't really like punish him because he'll just, you know, push him into places they don't want to be. So tier can actually be quite useful in the right scenarios, and those buffs that he got are quite significant. So I think I actually am happy with him being A+. But that's going to do it for the Warriors, boys. Moving on to the next class, we have the Hunters. So same thing that we did with Warriors. We're going to drag all the Hunters that we think need to move around here into the reevaluate. Oh, wait, I forgot King Arthur. 1 second. Sorry, backtracking. Warriors. Arthur, I think I had A+. think I'm going to drop him back in A+. And you know what? I'm dropping Mulan to A. I just do not love that character right now. She's probably the warrior I want to play the least. I really do. I just do not think she's that great. But she's still good, because, A tier is definitely playable. Still alright. You can still pick her. But King Arthur, I think, they actually did nerf this guy a lot. But he has some really good matchups. And you don't really fall into the problem that you sometimes do with King Arthur, where you pick a warrior, hunter, guardian, or warrior, mage, guardian comp, and you don't have enough damage to kill tanks. King Arthur does not have that problem, because his big ult gives you so much against those tanks, and he's really, really good in sustained fights where people aren't hitting each other super, super hard. So, like, King Arthur is one of those ability warriors that will beat other ability warriors, because he just does more damage than them. He's just got more abilities. He has gotten nerfed a bit, but Shield of the Phoenix is still very good on him, and he still does do the thing where he beats the other ability warriors. But the same kind of thing as tier, you cannot let Ares through if you're going to pick this god. So that's like the biggest thing. Artio is kind of annoying. But not other than that, like, it's mainly just Ares. Like, for tier and King Arthur, you cannot play these characters with Ares up. Like, they're just unplayable with him in the game. So, yeah, that's a really big thing holding him back. Just like, you got to worry about DPS as a King Arthur. Like, double backline is actually one of the hardest comps for a King Arthur to deal with, because they just are doing so much to you, and you need to take a while to actually cast all your King Arthur abilities. So, you really just want the tankiest possible compositions from both sides if you're a King Arthur. Like, if you play against one of those people, one of those teams that run triple tank every game, like, pick King Arthur. Dude'll go great. Trust me. Yeah, but he's just like, he can do a lot of damage. Solid late game character. And yeah, good team fight. Not bad at all. He's very playable. Unplayable section for Morgan Le Fay. Well, we'll get there when we get there. Alright. What's up, Serious 65 Hater? Alright, yeah, we're editing by class right now, guys. The only thing that we've edited right now are warriors. We are now doing hunters. Everything else you see on this list that is not a warrior is 3-month-old information. Hunters. We're going to grab all the hunters we think need to move. Who needs to move? Who? Let's see. I think all these guys are still fine. These guys are still in the right spot. I might do this, and I might do this, but I think those guys are good where they are. This guy might be able to go up. Fight. This guy is going down. So are you. You are going somewhere. You're going somewhere. Anyone else? Who might be able to go somewhere? I think that might be it, actually. Charybdis SS, the rest don't matter. I think so. Did you already miss the tier list? No, you're actually here relatively early, Pandrew. We've done just warriors, and we're doing hunters now. I'm grabbing all the hunters I think have maneuverability here on the list. And then we're going to play some. So I think this is about it for the hunters. I think we're going to leave these guys here. The big thing about these hunters is they kill one target very quickly from an early stage. That is the most important thing if you're trying to win as many Joust games as cleanly as possible, is killing a target very fast, as quickly and as early in the game as possible. And with proper coordination, Medusa, Onher, and Ho Yi are those guys. In your average ranked game, they might not be those guys. You might need a safer character. But from the standpoint of winning as many Joust games with the best team, player-wise and god-wise, you can assemble, these are the best. For many of you, this will not be the case. Uller. Weaker. This god has gotten pooped on. Ever since Transcendence became non-meta, Uller has been the bad. Not a great guy. Not a great god. He's all right. His burst just is not as potent anymore, man. I'll give him top of A, but nowhere else. Like, he's just very meh. He doesn't kill tanks. He has okay early pressure. But when you're an ability-based character that has decent ability damage early on, and you're just out DPS'd by, like, a Medusa, like, you know there's something going on with your character, and not being as good. So, it just kind of sucks. There's Sov. Yeah, Sov being buff doesn't help him at all. Because Sov Rush, very good against Uller. Very annoying. Late game is kind of what you're playing for as an Uller. That late game poke, right? And just winning fights off poking him over and over. But playing for the late game in Joust, if you're playing for the late game, you're playing for the 25 to 30 minute Joust game, you are playing Joust wrong. And that's all I'm going to say. Hachiman. Kind of the same thing. Kind of just like falling a bit to the wayside here. You know what? I take my mind. I'll take it back. I'll leave Hachiman A+. I think he's still just like, he's just aight. He does the hunter things late still. But he's just like a little weaker than he was back when he was like top pick, top meta. But he's, he's taking a back seat to a lot of these stronger ADCs. He's just not killing as fast. He's just like a safe guy. Safe guy. Very safe guy. With solid clear. Safe guy with solid clear. That's all he is. With good hunter stuff late. And playing for that, as we talked about in Joust, playing for the late game. You're not playing Joust right, guys. You're not. Alright, Charybdis. Very, very safe character. Let's see. I had Charybdis in A, right? She, at the very least, is top of A+, and at the very most is bottom of S. Where we put her is another question. Because this character is an OP ranked god. Broken ranked god, in fact, you could say. Because when you're playing ranked Joust, especially if you're not playing with the best people, either if they're in your party or if you're solo queuing or whatever. So at most levels of Joust, this probably is the best hunter you're going to see. Because people just don't know what to do about it. They don't know that she loses to this, that, and the other thing, and has very low pressure. And you can hit her with gods that do not have to be very committal, like Sun Wukong, or Jormungandr, or Shiva, or Shock, or Osiris, or, gods that can kind of just whack her, where she can't whack them back. The long-range poke gods are the bane of your existence as a Charybdis. The long-range mage abilities. If Morgan Le Fay was in the game right now, you would hate that thing. If mages were more popular, Thoth would be very, very annoying for you. But there are a lot of like poke gods that are just really, really hard to deal with as a Charybdis. Atlas, long-range one-ing you. Kuzenbo throwing kappas at you. Like, very, very hard for you to do anything about that, right? Jormungandr just pew, pew. You're done for. Very annoying. Wukong. Bang! Bang! How are you going to punish a Wukong for one-ing you? You're not. So, there are a lot of things that are really, really annoying for a Charybdis. If we were talking about ranked specifically, this god would go, like, straight to the top. But I am struggling, because she's just so safe, right? You have to get through her beads, you have to get through her Aegis, you have to get through her 3, and you got to get through her ult. If you really want a hard commit on her. But that's the thing. That's the strat against Charybdis, is you don't hard commit on her. You pick gods that are going to poke her out, whittle her away. And she's not, like, it's kind of the same thing as, like, beating it on her. Very similar. You have to hit him from a long distance. ideally, because getting close to them just isn't going to work, you know? The difference between Charybdis and Anhur is Anhur's going to lock you down if you do end up getting close to him. Charybdis, she's going to need Fatalis for that one. So she's like, a bit more inconsistent of an Anhur in my eyes, at least at higher levels. But overall, I'll give her bottom of S. How about that? You guys happy? I'll give her bottom of S. Because, across the spectrum of all ranked Joust enthusiasts, you will see Charybdis be quite strong. Quite strong. At the highest levels of competitive, you definitely won't. In my opinion. But that's just one man's opinion. All right. Kurnos, I'll give him top of A+. Maybe not top, actually. I'll get him below these two. Maybe a little. I think he's a similar strength to Marty. Does a lot of damage. Decently safe god. He's kind of like, he's just like a peg below the Medusa Anhur Hou-Yi guys. Because he's got decent CC, which is something not a lot of hunters have. Like Nike, right? Just pisses off a lot of hunters because she just whacks him and they can't whack her back. And she, like, stops them from hitting her and they can't stop her from stopping them. Kurnos is one of those characters that can stop her from hitting them. From using her too, right? Because he's got the root and he's got the ult. And that can be a very long CC chain. And Kurnos has a built-in 25 flat pen. He's got the heavy glaive. He's just got a lot of extra things that make him do more damage. And he's got solid CC. That's like a big thing about the best hunter players you'll find are the ones that can utilize the hunters with CC. The Anhurs, the Hou-Yis, the Kernonoses, the CC guys. Because those guys can actually kill someone on their own. They don't need somebody to mess up for them to be able to kill them. They can actually, like, enforce their will a little bit. And that's what makes a good hunter player different from a great hunter player, are the guys that actually know how to do that. And know how to operate their characters in ways where they can set themselves up for moments like that. Or be in the right positions for when their team sets themselves up for moments like that, where they can actually apply their CC, versus being, oh, I'm a scared little Charybdis, dive me, and I'll wait until you mess up, and then I'll turn on you with Vitalis, pew, 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 pew. There are different ways to play hunters. The guy that knows how to be aggressive and use the CC properly, and plays the characters that actually have it, those are the best hunter players. Kurnos. We got distracted there. And yeah, Kurnos got good pressure, strong early game, but just not as consistent, and the lack of CC immunity does hurt him a bit. Can't peel things as easily from him. People like Blink Jing knocking you up is really, really annoying as a Kurnos. Just walls are painful to deal with. That's like a big thing. Like, Hou-Yi doesn't have CC immunity, but he's got a jump instead of a dash. So, gives him a leg up. Jumps are, very, very useful, because you can create a lot of space versus someone who doesn't have a jump if you jump over a blue buff wall. And you're playing against Amaterasu, for example. Very hard for her to kill you when you just jump a wall. Neith. I think I had her in B. I'm gonna put her in A. She's okay. She's alright. She's okay. She's alright. Got okay clear. The ult's good. She's just like a pickable hunter, I would say. She's nothing crazy. And she's alright. And I think that's all we have to say for hunters. Beautiful. Ishtar pretty good now. Yep, good enough to be pickable in A. They're just like, to me, hunters in A there's nothing like super like special about them. They don't like enforce their will on people like some of these other guys do above them. Like Don's a really good CC, solid pressure. His early is really strong now. Hachi just super, super crazy good late and very nice and safe. Just solid damage at all points of the game, but just not as good at controlling things on his own as the better ones. Marty just super safe, great wave clear. Can always trust a Marty to live and chill in the back line. But like, like your Ishtar, like a lot easier to pick that guy off. You feel me? Fern and Marty look so similar in their card art. Kind of. Alright, moving on. We've finished Warriors and Hunters. We still have 3 more classes to go. Guardians are next. This is an interesting one. we will be taking the Kappa King down to the evaluation category. Gasps throughout the room ring out. This guy's moving. Surely you guys know why. This guy's moving. Who else is moving? You're moving. You're moving. You're moving. Sorry. You're moving. You are definitely moving. Ooh. Ooh. Are you moving? And are you moving? And are you moving? 3 questions. 3 answers. Who's moving, chat? You're moving here. You're moving somewhere. But are you moving here? Or are you moving here? Ooh. Ooh, you're moving for sure, but what do you guys think? Are we moving this guy? Ooh, are we moving this guy? I'm gonna look at these guys. Yeah, we're moving this guy. Move him to C. What the heck? No, we'll leave him there for now. Okay. Kuzenbo. Kuzenbo is still the Kappa King, but he's not the Joust King. Kuzenbo, not a first pick. He's not a must-pick, must-ban. He really is not. He really is not. I actually let Kuzenbo through a lot of the time nowadays, believe it or not. Still incredibly strong character, but I don't know. He just feels a little easier to deal with these days for me. Like, I'd rather play against a Kuzenbo than a Cerberus or a Kulu or a Fafnir, or I kind of find him on the same level as Kumba. I'd rather not play against either of them, but I'm okay if I have to play against one of them. So, yeah, we're gonna drop him down into the S category. There's just something about him. It does not feel the same. Don't get me wrong, still incredibly strong, but I think he has been surpassed to the point by the other Guardians where I don't feel like I need to ban him over a lot of the others. Also, Ares has always been a weak point for him. If you plan on playing Kuzenbo, you gotta ban Ares. You really do. Also, how did that happen? Okay. So yeah, Kuzenbo got demoted a little bit, for sure. We'll move him, we'll put him top of S for now, until we reevaluate the rest of, like, the order and whatnot in here. Fafnir. You saw it. I saw it. Surely we all saw this coming, right? This is arguably the best character in the Joust game mode, boys and girls and Apache helicopters. Fafnir is just very, very strong. His ultimate being 40 seconds is just insanity at rank 1. 40 seconds. 40 seconds! He does so much with that ultimate. Like, you just win the game once he transforms and you have a dragon on your team. Does definitely have some annoying matchups, like Ares, Gilgwal Lock. You can get pressured out early, which can feel really bad. So especially when you're, like, solo queuing, or you're in, like, a lower MMR lobby, Fafnir's not going to be as impactful, right? But I do think, when played well, this god is something I cannot have in my game. I will not have that be on the other team if there is a competent Fafnir player on the other team. The nice thing is, from a ranked Joust perspective, that if a good Fafnir player is in the other team part, that's not very common. So a lot of the time, you don't even need to ban this guy. But I like to err on the side of caution. If I'm going to lose, it'll be to a good Fafnir player a lot of the time.
I need
So,
the jungle
we ban
buff.
that. You gotta ban it. You do. If you have ever played against a good Fafnir, you will ban it. But he is definitely one of those gods where, like, if you're just playing, just random ranked matches, like, you can let him through, and, as long as nobody's actually picking him and doing really well, you can just keep letting him through. I mean, might as well learn to play against him if you don't know how. Yami, thank you for the T1er. Welcome back. Played against your Fafnir and I haven't slept since. Yeah, he stun locks you for so long, the Fafnir, in the dragon form. Like, if the guy's hitting his abilities and he's playing the character properly, it's just, like, so impossibly hard to deal with. Especially with hunters being so meta, like, he's just so good at buffing up those ADCs and, like, just running rampant on you. Like, if you let, like, a Fafnir shock comp through, like, oh my god! You are in so much pain. There really is just, like, no way to beat that. Because they just have so much pressure from the shock, so much control. And then they've got Fafnir behind that, and they throw with, like, ADC 1 through 55, and you are done for, Like, it's just Jover, bro. Like, holy, that comp is disgusting. I'm almost tempted to put Shock up here, but, like, I don't think I would do that. You don't have to ban Shock. Shock doesn't even get banned in the first round, let's be honest. But yeah, Fafnir, just insane character. Bacchus, I had him in S. I'm gonna put him top of A+ now. The god is still good, but he's just not as dominant as these other guardians that have gotten buffs even. I've always been wanting to be a Bacchus hater, but and these other guys they realistically are just better than him. He is very, very, very close to them, but he's, like, close in the downwards position instead of close into the upwards or in the same category position, like, he's close, but these guys are better. They are. Like, it's kind of hard to explain without actually, like, playing against them, but it's just, like, unless you have, like, the right matchups and they can't cancel your burp, like, these other guys are just way more consistently better. These other guardians. Kulu being one of them. This god has had a nice little glow up Curse Weaver and Shield of the Phoenix combo on him is incredibly strong. Curse Weaver did just get nerfed, but the item is still very buildable. We're going to have to see just how buildable. I still have yet to test, but just looking at the nerfs they've done to it, I think it's still an item that you'd build on the guys that use them the best. So, like, Kulu, Jormungandr type of thing. Still abuse Curse Weaver super hardcore. And, like, this guy is just like a healer with his build that he goes. I'm sure you guys have seen, like, if you've been watching the channel, I have plenty of videos detailing, just exactly how OP this character is. And, they haven't nerfed him. They've nerfed Curse Weaver, so he might be a little worse than he was before, but I'm still going to put him quite high up there. He does have his counters. Put him, like, mix this list up a little bit here. I'm, like, towards the bottom of the S tier, but insane clear, insane team fight, and he's just like a raid boss because he just heals so much with the build he goes. So it's just really, really hard to deal with a Kulu. Alright. Kabrakan. Had him an A+. I'm going to put him bottom of S, I think, here. This god is just really, really annoying to play against. Very, very annoying. Unless you have exactly the right stuff to deal with him. Like, he's just got such a long CC chain, and his ult is always a prevalent factor, right? So Kabrakan, very strong character. They actually buffed him recently. Since I made the last tier list, he gets extra prots on his 2. They made his 2 a little easier, too. Like, I think if your 2 gets canceled, like, you know how if you use your Kabrakan 2 and you got canceled out of it before you finish casting it, it would take the stacks on your 2? Do not believe it does that anymore. So Kabrakan's a little nicer to play. But Kabrakan is a god that I personally don't love to play. Just because, like, this is a very, very team-reliant god. Unless you build power, his damage is not very high. But his CC is always incredibly strong. Really good anti-dive character. Because he's just got so much CC. Like, a lot of assassins just really dislike going against Kabrakan. And then just, like, any, like, a mobile god will have a lot of trouble with him. So, yeah. Kabrakan, really strong. Jormungandr. So this character I think is sneaky strong. Very sneaky, sneaky strong. I think I'm gonna sneak him right here above Terra. I'm gonna put him above Yorm or above Kulu. I think he's like a slightly better, maybe a slightly lower. Oh, it's hard to say. I'm gonna put him. I'll put him slightly above Kulu. Yeah, they kind of do like the same thing. Really strong early pressure. These are guardians that play more like warriors. Really strong early pressure, poke you out a lot. Uh, Good, really, really good in those early fights around the purple buff and whatnot because they just clear so well and so safely. So they're just like really hard to deal with. And the thing that Yorm does is he pokes people out, specifically carries very easily because he can hit them from so far away, right? So, uh, especially with the tablet buff, I think Yorm is the guardian in terms of abusing tablet. And with the tablet buff being it now 70 stacks max instead of 50 stacks max, he just super abuses that. We'll put Yorm up there among the top guardians. Ymir! Boy, oh boy, I love Ymir. I want to give this guy a really big glow up. You guys might not believe it, but I think Ymir is on the same wavelength as Terra. And this god is crazy good. They gave him a nice little buff as well as a 10-second cooldown and I believe 5-second duration. His ult, a while back they brought it down 90, scaling down to 70. His 2 is an 8-second cooldown. His 3 is a 14-second cooldown. So you got a 10-second cooldown, 8-second cooldown, 14-second cooldown, 70-second cooldown. You don't need the cooldown to build a lot of cooldown as bad on him as you might need to build on, your Jing Chens of the world or your Yorms or Kulus or whatever. So it frees up a lot of build paths, and he's just really, really good at being a support. At really enabling your backliners, so your hunters in particular are having a really good time. And he's good anti-hunter, because he can place his wall in front of him. So not only can you use your wall to trap in your enemy Medusas and Amaterasu's and Osiris's and Zhongquis and all that, Atlases, Kabrakens, like lock people down from escaping because they don't have jumps. But you can use the wall to block people from hitting you in fights. So if you have, 2 tanks and a hunter versus 2 tanks and a hunter, if one of the enemy or if one of the hunters is unable to connect any basic attacks with the enemy tanks because there's a wall in his face, then you're probably going to win that fight. You can also use the wall to make people use their escapes. So like people might pick on her into Ymir, or they'll pick Hou-Yi into Ymir, or Charybdis because they can get over the wall. Your wall is a 10-second cooldown. Their escapes are longer. So you use the wall to get the escape, and then all of a sudden, there's a 5+ second window where they can't really step up easily at all because you have your Ymir wall. Real, real tough. So Ymir can be very, very useful in these games. I like building like really heavy movement speed on him, like Talisman Bracer, and you just be really fast so you can get in range for those walls and close the gap. And then I even skip going blink a lot of the time so I can go bracer and sprint or bracer and horrific or, bracer and something. And like bracer and I was doing bracer and divine barrier actually. I divine barriered this Persephone, forced her jump and then walled her after. That guy did not have fun. So yeah, Ymir very, very strong if you can utilize the character correctly. Kumbhakarna, another character that has received massive buffs. I think he was A or B, right? But this guy got 7 buffs in one patch. And he went from being really bad to really good. They've nerfed him slightly since then. But he's still really, really annoying. I'd say he's just above... I'll put him same level as like Ymir and Terra. Real strong Guardian. You may notice that the Guardian class, a lot of them are up here. A lot of them are really, really strong. So, they are very deserving of their high places. Like, if you're banning any and all these Guardians in your games, you are doing just fine. Because they are very, very annoyingly good. Kumba has a 10-second cooldown on his 1, 10-second cooldown on his 2, 70-second cooldown ult. He's just so annoying to deal with, and his setup is so good, and so often you have the right things to follow up off of his stuff, and your Kumba will be very, very impactful. After that Yorm game and you were on her, he felt really OP. Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty darn good. He's stronger today, too. 83 win spree with the Ymir when you tried playing on Xbox for the first time? Sheesh. What's up, Ratify? Guardians should be renamed to carries at this point. Yeah, the backbone of your Joust comps, guys, are tanks. The tanks will drive the pace of the game. And the sooner you can drive the pace of the game from an earlier stage, the easier the game gets. Because you get the purples, you get the reds, you get pressure on the Bull Demon King, and everything just falls into place, right? And the natural bulk is the best way to achieve that point. So the Guardians are always going to be super strong. And you may have noticed the Warriors have been in a similar spot. What counters Ymir? I don't know if I would say there are gods that just like straight up bully him or anything. But in general, you just want to, you know, since he's relatively immobile, you want to like pin him down and just start beating him up. So, you know, there are a few characters you can pick to do that. You know, Shock Rain's hard to deal with. Fafnir stuns are pretty annoying, you know. You can Kabarakin him with a lot of CCR, but, you know, you got to be a little scared because the matchup could swing either way. That Ymir wall can change things up real swiftly. I think from a carry POV, like, the characters that can get over the wall are probably your best chance. But it's just so hard to turn on the guy. So, like, maybe like a Sobek would be a more of an idealistic matchup there because you can kind of surprise him with Blink Pluck before he can get a wall up, and the Sobek ult is safe. But I don't think there are like really hard Ymir counters. I guess like Tier. Tier is the hardest counter you could get since, you know, he can only freeze you for 1 second because that Ymir freeze is 2.25 seconds. I think it's mainly about just knowing how to play around him more than anything. Okay, Kujira. We're getting distracted here. Had him in B. This character actually got a little bit of a buff. I think I'm going to put him in A. I think he's playable. He's not like super good by any stretch of the imagination, but he brings decent pressure. He's kind of just like a much worse Yorm or Kulu. Because he's got decent pressure, solid damage, but they have just way better range. So it's like way easier to punish Bake. Way easier. Ymir gets screwed by a lot of gods in the game, but that might be a conk thing. Yeah, it turns out when you're 5 levels behind, it's a little harder to play Ymir, right? Ymir was always that god where it's like, in conk especially, you're 0-20 and losing, or you're 0-8 and winning. You know? You're just like a sacrificial lamb character. Unchecked Arachne could really shred Ymir. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good matchup. All right, Maui. I think I had him in A. I'm gonna move him up to bottom of A+. I think this character, he's like he's very similar to Sylvanas. Sylvanas actually is. I think I'm gonna move Sylvanas up to top of A+ even. Put Sylvanas up here, and I'm gonna put Maui like third here. Because Sylvanas actually got a decent number of buffs recently. Big buff. His 3 now scales down to a 10-second cooldown. His passive lasts on the ground, the seeds, for 10 seconds instead of 8 seconds. And I think they did one other thing that I can't remember. I guess they did the wisp thing a while back, where the wisps affect your minions and camps, or just minions again. But it's only like 25 or 50% of the protections and healing or whatever it is. So yeah, Sylvanas is pretty good. Like these Aura bots, Sylvanas and Maui, really good at like protecting you and setting you up as a carry. So if you're going against like heavy dive, like they're picking like Kakolans into you and stuff. Very, very strong anti-dive characters because they grant a lot of prots and they've got like a ton of CC or other maneuverability that makes it really easy to play against as a carry. So a very common strategy in Joust is to just go heavy dive and just kill carries. That's kind of like a trap of even at higher levels of Joust, people like to do that. Like they'll pick like Chiron, Kakolan, Sobek, and they're just gonna dive you over and over and over again, and their only strategy is to kill you in the back. So like Sylvanas and Maui can actually kind of mitigate that. You just need to get some items online, right? And get your levels so you can have those protections. Because that if you try and fight too early, they're just gonna kill you. So you got to get tanky first. But if they pick like a comp that's too tanky and too dive centric, you can get a lot of punish with these supporty guardians. But they're just not quite as relevant as your like higher DPS guardians a lot of the time. Ymir is kind of like the only one that kind of transcends that for me at least, just because his wall is just such a brute force that just limits so many gameplay styles and changes up how you play the entire game as an opponent. And that's going to do it for the Guardians, guys. We have 2 more classes to go. The Mages and the Assassins. We're going to be moving a few of these Mages here. I'm going to take these guys. We're going to grab this. Gonna grab, who are we grabbing? I actually don't know if there's like a lot of mage changes going on here. Take that one. Take that. Take you. Actually, no, I'll just move you up here. Oh, no, I'll take you. Take him. Take this. That. Take this. And yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Oh, actually, I'll do this. You know what, guys? I'm going to delete the C tier. What do you think? Should we delete the C tier? No, we'll leave it for now. Okay, mages. So mages are not super prevalent in the meta right now, but there are a few that are very good. The main one is Scylla. Scylla. Very, very strong mage. She's the safest and has the most consistent burst. No other mage really compares to that besides Yu Huang. But Yu Huang is kind of Yu Huang is a little bit of a less consistent one because he has to get a little closer to clear, and he like gives up damage on his 1 and 2 in exchange for a better ult. Scylla just hits really, really hard with her 1 and 2, and her ult's a bit more inconsistent. But they both have like really good escapes. Like they're very, very similar characters, but the Scylla 1-2 punch and CC is a bit more impactful and more consistent than the Yu Huang 1-2 punch. So that kind of like makes her much better than him, in my opinion. So she's gonna be there. There might be some others that can join her now that Tablet has been buffed. I might be changing my mind in the coming weeks. But for now, I think she's kind of the top mage that just kind of like, she's the only one where I'm just selecting and being like, yeah, this is great. Zhang, we had him up in S. He was very rarely played, actually. But he's very, very good. He actually still is very, very good. I'm going to put him top of A+, alongside Yu Huang. We already kind of went over Yu Huang by talking about Scylla, where Yu Huang is kind of just like a little bit of a side grade / little worse than Scylla. And Zhang is he's one of those mages that actually kind of gets tanky without building tank items. And he really fits the Joust mold of early pressure, run it down, win the game before they can play. And he still kind of does that, but they did nerf his passive a little bit so that he gets less prots. But Zhang can be very, very polarizing in those Joust comps, which you should be always looking for this, is running a comp that's just going to beat them down early and just, work through them quick, get those early bull demons, control the buffs, and just win the game as quickly as possible. Pressure is king. And so you want the strongest early and beat them by the mid till before late happens. That's what you're always looking for if you really want to be playing Joust in the most efficient and successful way possible. If you watched that tournament we played months ago, $3,000 one, that is exactly what we did. And we kind of ran through the whole tournament. using that strategy. Anyway, back to other mages. Morgan Le Fay, not in the game right now. Has been out of the game for months in ranked because she has a bug with her 1 where you can cast it twice, which we will not be getting further into. So she's just going to remain in the evaluation category. We're probably going to have to make a new tier for her eventually and just leave her there. But she's doomed. High-res just hates us. But she would be one of the stronger mages if she was available. Aphrodite. This character got an Omega buff this patch. She has, when she uses her ult, she gets to use her, she refreshes the cooldown of her 3, the Lovebirds. So she can, you know, ult, she can use her 3, ult, 3 again, and 2 you. And as a carry, that will probably kill you if she's building damage. Once you hit, you know, any stage of the mid game, going into late. And that's going to net her somewhere in this A+ category, trying to figure out where. I'll put her just under the Huangster, I think. Maybe just under Baba and Baron. I'm going to move Baron up to the top of A+. I think this god is actually pretty strong. We're going to move Chang'e. We got to do a little bit of rearranging here. Thinking something like this. Move this guy. This guy can go up. I'm trying to arrange these as accurately as I can in terms of how strong I think they actually are. Maybe do this. I really want to move Chang'e down because she just does not see very much success. Oh, yeah, I'll leave her at kind of the bottom here with Thoth, actually. Yeah, a lot of these mages are, like, playable, but there are, like, so many other gods that are more playable than them that it's just, like, you don't actually end up selecting them a lot of the time. Unless you're a mage main. Then you will be playing a lot of these guys in here. Discordia. This god has gotten some nice little buffs that have made her more relevant. I think she's actually quite good right now. I've been meaning to play her recently, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Discordia passive can be so useful. And her 3 giving more cooldown at early ranks, and then also giving cooldown off her ultimate, be very, very nice. Discordia is one of those characters where it's like, if I have a bottom pick player with like 1700 MMR, and he wants to play a mage, I want him on Discordia. Because Discordia can just be so annoying for people to play against. And she's brain dead easy. And then her passive is going to give me power. So it's just like a beautiful, beautiful thing. So she can make team comps that have really strong early presence have even more early presence. And her CC is just mad annoying, right? So if I'm running like a Kukulkan comp or a Gilgamesh comp, you know, or a Shiva comp, like 3 characters that all really utilize early power insanely well, like a Achilles comp, a Hurt comp, like she's kind of similar to an Aphrodite in that she can just make them even more annoying to deal with. And then on top of that, she's going to be offering a little bit more CC than the Afro, and just, you know, she fits her name really well, Discordia. She's causing a lot of discord and just really mucking up the fight for you. So if she's got like guys doing big beefy guys doing big things on the front line, she's just going to make it even more annoying for you to try and deal with them. Are there any other SS contenders? We're not there yet. Probably not. Probably not. Merlin. I'm going to give Merlin an A+. They just buffed Tablet. You can get 70 stacks on Tablet instead of 50 stacks on Tablet, which is a significant buff. So he's going to be right with Tiamat. Big surprise. And the big thing about this, we ran the calculations. Before the Tablet buff, you build, you know, let's say you build Book of Thoth with Tablet as, you know, you might normally do. And after the Tablet buff. After the Tablet buff, without Book of Thoth, your max stack Tablet does more damage now without Book of Thoth than it did before the buff with Book of Thoth. So it opens up some a lot of building possibilities because you don't need to really like feel the need to build Book anymore. That was probably the biggest weakness of Tablet builds for me is you had to build Book to make it like really feel good. And now you kind of don't have to do that because Book is a little bit of a weaker item right now. Does not feel very good to build. Doom Orb is kind of like taking over Book entirely. And then obviously if you're still going Book with your Tablet, like you're losing counter building options. Like Typically, tablet builds only have like one counterbuilding option, so you only get to build like Divine or Obshard or Soul Gem or Mirrodin. You know, you only have one thing. But now you got two things because you don't need to build book. So the tablet build is a lot better and a lot more flexible now. So Merlin has, you know, as always, if tablet's better, Merlin's better. So Merlin and Tiamat, I think, are gods in A+ that definitely, you know, as I experiment with the patch more, do have potential to, you know, maybe be on same levels as Silim even. Because these guys are very hard to kill because they hit you from so far away. It's hard to close gap on them and stop them from poking you with that tablet being so mad annoying. But the thing is, with those types of builds, you're playing for late game. And as I always talk about, playing for late game is not the way you want to play in Joust. Because you can just get steamrolled early mid and just lose the game before you get to play. And that is still a problem with the tablet buffs. So, tentatively, we're going to leave them down here in A+. Poseidon. This god is... I had him in B. I think he's playable now. Leave him in A. Don't need to say too much about him. But he can go a little bit of a tankier route, or he can go the Fatalis auto attack route. He's got some things he can do, and his damage is very consistent. So, you know, you can pick Poseidon. He has a lot of counter picks, so we're not moving him anywhere past this point, and he's very, very squishy. Poseidon is like, I think Poseidon is actually squishier than Zeus. That, or he's like just barely not as squishy. But this guy is really easy to kill. You do, Poseidon died. That's what you do. Snowball the BDK buff and towers at 10. Oh, you can get snowballed. You can very much get snowballed. If you think you can't get snowballed, then you might just not be playing the right things. All right, Anubis. Anubis I had kind of low here, right? I think Anubis is actually a lot more playable now. I put him top of A, actually. He's playable. The Anubis, he actually got nerfed relatively heavily. Pachigo, bonus Pachigo, I think. They reduced his ult damage pretty heavily. And, what else did they nerf? They nerfed something besides his ult. I think the main one was his ult, though. Because he's just doing a little bit too much damage. Like, post 9.5 revert, like, this god is just 100 to 0 in people. Similar to Poseidon, he kind of struggles from, you know, the whole guy is doing the run at you thing because he can't really escape. But his damage is just so crazy that, like, a lot of the time it actually works. Or it doesn't work. No, that nerf that he got, actually, I played him a couple days ago. Kind of felt that one. But, yeah, Anubis is actually serviceable. I think a god that's, like, slightly better than Anubis actually is Opwatch now. Because you can fight into Anubis ult. Because he, especially has, like, 2 tanks. It's going to take him a while to kill you. And he can only really kill one of you. But Opwash, fighting into that Opwash ult is actually miserable. It did get nerfed today. They added a facet to Opwash ult where it reduces the damage that you deal. In addition to the healing that you receive from stacks of his ult. Up to 3 stacks. It was up to 15% reduction on your damage. Now it's only 9. They also reduced the scaling on his ult a little bit. Because they buffed the scaling on his ult a patch ago. They gave him 10% extra scaling and 10 extra damage per ghost hit. So the Opwash ult was always just like a cook you ability, and you can't really fight into it. And now it's even more of a cook you can't fight into it ability. So he's actually playable right now. Crazy as it is to say, Opwash is definitely playable. Playing EU, that's your issue. Dang. Yeah, I found ways around the Bull Demon changes, Carbon Rick. There are still gods that can very easily kill it alone. 500 pot being a big secret to that. It'll definitely take longer, you know, but there are a number of gods that can still, like, solo it. So if you have, like, insane pressure on them, like, you can just have your 2 guys zone them because they're just too scared to step up because they don't have information, right? And you just have your level 10 Amma just beating it down. On her with Pillar, yep, that's another one. And you can shred it real quick if you get, like, an Amma on your team, for example. Like, that's why I have Amma so high up here, because, like, you may notice, like, some of the higher priority gods are the ones that can put a lot of pressure on the Bull Demon. All right. Moving on, Ao Kuang. I think this god is a playable god, like, similar to these other A gods that I've added. Like, they're not, like, crazy good or anything, but they just have, like, things that they didn't used to be able to do before. Kwang actually might... He actually just got nerfed. He got his non-conquest buff removed of reduced damage taken. He still has a cooldown reduction buff on his normal abilities. Non-ultimate abilities, I believe. But Kwang is serviceable. He's playable. You can definitely use this character as like a little bit of a tanky guy. Execute some tanks, but not like super strong. But, you know, executes in general are just nice. Pretty good into, you know, stuff like Achilles that are trying to just like poke you out because he's just healing it up. And then he has the execute, and then you can avoid Achilles execute very easily. Like, really easy to play, like a duck and dive type of gameplay style without Kwang, where, you know, you're just like hitting him with your 3 over and over, and you're just super safe with your 1. But like, the higher up you go, it gets more and more difficult to actually use him, because like you start running into people that know what they're doing, and they'll limit your opportunities, and like he's so short range that you'll just get punished because you don't have like hard CC aside from your ult, and so then they start like hard CCing you with their Shivas and applying Flame Forge so you can't run away with your 1, and it becomes a whole thing. But he's definitely playable. Definitely playable. On Hanis! Hello, hello. And then we're gonna leave Morgan Le Fay here, because you literally can't play her in ranked. Isn't that depressing? All right, moving on to our final class of the tier list. This one's running a little longer than I expected it to. The Assassin tier. Who's moving where, guys? Who's moving where? I want to grab, tentatively, this guy. We might end up putting him back exactly in the same spot. I don't know if any assassins are really going up, but we could definitely see some moving down. Actually, no, there are definitely some that are moving up. I'll take that back. Let's see. Who am I moving? These two are going places. Do I want to move anyone else? Fenrir, Rat, Robin, maybe. Maybe Schmaybe. Tsukuyomi maybe down. That's what I'm thinking. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I think I might just leave Kama S, actually. Kamazots unit. I want to move this guy up. I really do. He's actually quite good. But at the same time, not. Weird stuff. Explain your reasoning for Ymir and S unless you're trolling. You're gonna have to watch back the VOD, aka the video, when it comes out. We are past that point. Okay. I think that's maybe it. I'll take him and I'll take him. Yeah. Love Apollo, is he really that bad? Yeah, he is. Here. Does that make you happier? I actually wanted to delete this tier. All right. So, Camazotz. We had him in S. And upon further inspection, I'm going to put him back in S, actually. I think he's one of the few assassins that are actually, like, quite playable. Am I going to leave him in S, guys? I'll leave him in S. This guy's a really good diver. Really, really, really good diver. And he's a really safe diver. He's kind of similar to Wukong, but he doesn't have the tankiness. Really good at diving the Scyllas, the On-Hers. Consistent dive onto Charybdis, and really good poke. That's the big thing. He's got really, really good poke. They did remove his non-conquest buff that gives him reduced ultimate cooldown, so you are working with a 120er, getting down to 100. But your Camazotz is quite a good diver, quite a good poker. The only tricky thing is you have to find the balance between building squishy and being able to kill and building a little bit tanky so you can survive if you get caught in an awkward position. I think Shifter's Shield kind of helps a lot with that. I think he's a good candidate for the Jotun's Bluestone Shifters build. Maybe Shifter's Rush instead of Jotun's Rush. And he actually did get a buff to his healing. He has ability lifesteal off of his passive and his 2 now. So his the vampirism passive on his 2, I believe. His actual passive and his 2 passive give him ability lifesteal. So if you go like Jotun's Vigor, Soul Eater, max your Kama passive, Serrated Edge, you take like half your health and poke, you're gonna heal that up quite quickly off a camp. They did not remove it, you just played him. Oh really? We're gonna have to see about that one. But yeah, Camazot's still solid. One of the few like really good assassins. That's a lot. I had him an A+, I'm gonna move him down to A. He just isn't packing the same punch as he was for me. I'll put him like with Robin here. He's just good. He's alright. He's playable. Good in certain matchups, but you're not really like dominating the field with Lancelot, really. Losing that tankiness post 9.5, actually, I felt that a lot. I thought he would be better, actually, with 9.5 removal. Because he'd just be killing people faster, but he also dies faster. And it turns out that's very painful. So, yeah, not very fun. Arachne, we had her really low, B or A. Well, we had her B, I think. Maybe in that C tier that no longer exists. Yeah, we did have her in that C tier that no longer exists. We'll put her in A or A plus. I'm gonna put her 10. She could be bottom A plus or top A, I would say. This character isn't gonna do very much if you're in an actual lobby, but you can stop some lower tier rank games with this character for sure if people don't know what's going on. They buffed her 3. It had 30% physical power scaling on your Broodling's basic attacks. Now it has 20%. They just nerfed that today. But those Broodlings, you gotta be able to know how to deal with those, or this god can run you. The only thing is, she's got like very little presence early on in a team fight, right? She's kind of just like she's really assassin-y assassin. He is really looking for that pick. You're looking to come in from the side when you're least expecting it, and just like smelting somebody, right? Like when your Cabrakan uses his 1 and then, actually stuns somebody, and then she's like, haha, now I'm on your Cabrakan, shredding him. She's got very good shred, right? Scalar, yeah, for sure. Good at like taking out the Bull Demon King if you're not expecting it. Gets like 3, 4 casts of her web out on there, and she kills it really fast. So she's definitely a character that I've come to respect a little bit more. But I would not say she's particularly strong by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll leave her down in the A tier. But yeah, that's where she is. Bakasura, I think, is a bit more consistent, but it's stronger variant of the Arachne. Kind of does a similar thing where he's just looking to pick you off when you're least expecting it. But he can kind of enforce his will a little bit better than Arachne, I find. Because you can use your Baka ult very offensively these days. I like going, I'm sure you may have seen the videos where we go Jotun, Sigil, Baka, and get like a Fail Not or a Breastplate second, and we have an 8-second cooldown on my 2 reduced to whatever it is, 6.3 or something. No, it's 4.8. Why did I say 6.3? 8-second base cooldown on Baka 2 that heals you for 280 and refunds you more mana than you used. And that's on a 4.8-second cooldown. His one's on a 7.2-second cooldown that gets reduced by 1.5 seconds when you eat. And same thing with his Butcher Blades, if not a little lower, actually. And then your ult becomes a 40 35. I think Baka ult becomes a 35-second cooldown because he has a non-conk buff that reduces the cooldown on his ult by 10%. So he has a 70-second ult scaling 90 to 70 that gets 10% reduced just for existing outside of conk, and then you build 40% cooldown, so you have 50% reduced cooldown. Level 20, that's a 42-second ult. So for a majority of the game, once you get your cooldown online, you're dealing with a 50 to 60-second cooldown Baka ult for the most part. And his eat will be on like, a 5 to 6-second cooldown. And he's just like casting, takes poke, eats, boom, heal, 200. And just doing that over and over, just being real annoying. He can get real active. Really insane solo queue character if you're looking to carry games is the Baka. So I'd actually put him kind of, I'll put him like similar levels to Nem. Really good. What would you think of the build for him now? Bluestone, Soul Eater, Shifters, Jones. We'll see. We'll see. Wait, what do you guys... I missed something. I think I missed something important. Racking against God, single target CC. Yeah, she's pretty solid. She's playable. She's A. I'm so tempted to move some of these guys down. This guy and this guy particularly. I don't know if Thor and Suki deserve to be this high up. But they offer a little bit more to the team fight than the gods below them. That's like the big thing for me is a lot of these assassins are really good at killing like one guy, right? But it's hard to find that correct opening onto that one guy in Joust when people are actually like having brains. So you need some like team fight control. Fenrir. I'll put him bottom A+. His ult is very good. He got a buff, actually. He's got a 90-second ult instead of an 100-second ult. I think they did that a patch or two ago. But, Fenrir's like, he's decent. I had a 52-minute game on him the other day. Did not enjoy that one. That one's dragged out real far. I wanted to test the tanky Fenrir build, and boy, oh boy, did I regret testing that. But Fenrir's good. That ult is just really annoying to deal with if they aren't playing properly around it with beads, absolution, blah, blah, blah. And just, like, pick off one guy and win the game. The classic Joust. Baka doesn't need Fatalis. I built Fatalis on him. I don't think you need it. You could get Frostbound, or you could get just no Frostbound or Fatalis if you really wanted to. And I just found the Fatalis to be super useful on him. But yeah, Fenrir, consistent, God, good lockdown, decent early. But he's just a very ult-based character. There was a time when Fenrir was like really strong. Back when what was it, Jade Corruption map first came out. I was playing Fenrir a lot for that tournament, and then he became like super meta after because he was Fenrir was actually on the team that won the whole thing. We scrimmed against that team, destroyed them with Fenrir, and then they ended up running like the same comps that we ran the whole tournament, but they won and we lost. So that was awkward. But yeah, they just ran our comp, and Fenrir became super meta, and then he disappeared. So yeah, Fenrir, he's fallen off a bit, but he's still all right. Good in a fight. Really immobile, hard to kill this guy, right? And then you just play around his ult and basically just execute people with it. But you need to have the right things to kill the people that he ults. That's the big thing. You need an ADC smoking the guy or some really heavy mage burst that can make it tricky. Just like Ganesh Fenrir, for example, or, Fenrir, Hou-Yi, good shred. Gotta get something to kill him in that ult, though. And then Ratatosker, I think I'm going to put him bottom of A+ too. He's a decent god. Really solid dive. Long range, relatively unmissable stun. If you upgrade the Acorn to the 5 Acorn Blast, it'd be very useful to have a long range stun like that. Not a lot of characters have something like that, long range stun. Like, it's like your Fafnir hammer, but you can't miss it, kind of thing. Long range stun. Very powerful tool. You find the right balance between like tankiness and damage, and you can do a lot with Rune Forged Rat for example. Pretty strong. Good diver for particular characters. Like him against your squishier like mages and whatnot that don't escape very easily or very quickly. Like you can stun out a Tiamat or like a Vulcan, an Afro, pretty easy. But then you got like your Discos of the world who could 3 or 3. Can be a little tougher against them. Geb needs repositioning in A. Oh! Good call. Yeah, how did he get over there? I'll put Geb like Geb and Capri on the same. Geb is actually kind of good. I'm tempted to move Geb A. Yeah, I'll give Geb A plus. Good call, Nightmare. I would not have noticed that. I think Geb he's a decent pick. He's very low pressure, but he's very annoying. God, Geb is so annoying. His 2 actually like chunks you with the 9.5 removal. The thing about Geb is you do not want to run this god solo frontline. That is the biggest thing. Do not run solo front Geb. Because he's just such a low pressure character, just kind of like sits back and waits for things to happen and then, you know, shields his teammates and stuff. Like, the best part about Geb, the best parts are blink ults, shielding your teammates that get hit by single target CCs, like that Rat 3 we were talking about, Fafnir Hammer, and 2ing people. Just 2ing the wave and hitting a god or 2, and it actually does so much damage. Like, I like Conduit Geb a lot because of that. He can be quite effective, but yeah, can be a little hit or miss at times. So not too much stronger than that. Permaband Keck W. All right, and with that, guys, we have completed the tier list update for patch number. What is this patch number, guys? This is patch number 11.10. 11.10. This will be our completed tier list. This is the update. Do one quick scroll through here. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, now would be the time to bring them up. We can answer it. This is looking pretty solid to me. The list is nice. The list is real nice. Poor Morgan Le Fay has been banned from ranked. Banned from ranked. And yeah, aside from that, got a nice list. SS is your must pick, must ban. Like if you're letting these things through and the people on the other team pick her and know how to play them, you are putting yourself at a major disadvantage. These are, you know, your S tier, your typical strongest pool of characters that you're going to see in most drafts if, you know, people are really trying to win. A plus is, you know, just below that. Strong characters. Very, very playable in the right hands, especially if you get in the right scenarios. Can be quite useful. But they're just like, you know, just a peg down below most of these guys, or all of these guys, I should say. Your A tier is just, you know, these are serviceable characters. They're good. They're pickable. Well, maybe I shouldn't say like really good or anything, but they're definitely pickable. You just might have not much fun if people are picking like the better gods. And, you know, you got your B tier, which is like B for bad. Don't play those gods unless, like, you know, you're really feeling it. I kind of did a Wheelix dirty. Maybe I did Clean a dirty too. Well, we'll slide her up here. She's playable. Clean is kind of playable too, actually. They buffed Clean. She has a 35-second ult max rank, so you get that pretty low. But yeah, B for bad. Don't pick these gods really. I'll give New Wall a little uppity. Yeah, that's kind of messed up by me. But yeah, looking at these gods are all pretty bad. Pretty bad. He-Bone eats his own tier. You think so? Yeah, those gods that I dragged up just there, just gods that are like I looked at this again and I was like, man, they are not as bad as these other bad ones. So yeah, just avoid these ones. If you see somebody picking any of these gods, maybe rarely the exception of Rom, like guy is probably trolling you a little bit. Oh yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Should be in the same tier as Morgan Le Fay, he said. Any set reason for being any... Well, Any reason for set being so low? I mean, I think A plus is pretty high, but yeah, I don't think set is anywhere close to anywhere as good as these guys. That is why I think he's that low. Don't understand why Apollo is so low. Brings no pressure. Awful wave clear unless you can get right up on it, which you normally can't. And he's just one of those characters that just takes poke for free and can't dish it back very well. That is why Apollo is terrible. It's early pressure, bad. His team fight, he doesn't have an ult. He's okay at living. But if you want to pick a god who's going to live better, pick Chernobog, pick Heimdall, pick Charybdis. Those gods are great at living, and they have ults. Well, Charybdis doesn't really have an ult. Let me take that one back. But they're much better at living, and their DPS is better. So yeah, Apollo is just like the worst of the worst. He really is. That's the explanation for me. But yeah, that's been the tier list, guys. Hope you enjoyed the update there. I think we got a pretty nice list. Let me know what you think. If you think I placed a god egregiously, like if a god is over one tier from where you expect them to be, like if I put Ra an A+, and you think Ra is a SS tier character, let me know. I would love to hear the reasoning. Give me a nice logical argument, and maybe in the next tier list update we can make that happen. But other than that, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this tier list update. Hope this helps you out in your ranked games with prioritizing what you want to pick when, and like, you know, which characters you want to try out, which characters that you were like, maybe we should be banning this guy, that now you're like, oh yeah, we should definitely be banning that guy based on the list. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out the Twitch. All my links are down below in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!